In the beginning, literally boggled my mind because I couldn't believe that there was any one extract that could do all of this. I mean, we're talking about cancer, multiple sclerosis, arthritis, AIDS. It just goes on and on and on.
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this man right here, but that's Rick Simpson. This gentleman changed the cannabis game forever and has potentially changed or saved so many lives along the way. How, you ask? It all started in a quiet corner in Nova Scotia, where he began a hero's journey that would challenge the medical establishment and inspire a movement. His tool? A thick, dark cannabis oil that he believed could heal where conventional medicine failed. This oil would later become known as Rick Simpson oil, or RSO. What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Andrioni, aka the Cannabis Doc. In today's video, we're going to be talking about everything RSO. Let's dive in. All right, guys, to start, this is purely academic and educational in nature. This is not medical advice. This is my best attempt to summarize all this information and create something cool for you guys. And with that being said, RSO has been said to be one of the most concentrated, most powerful, and most versatile medical cannabis extracts on the market today. Per leaflet, there's very little it can't do, and a lot it can do for both patients and stoners. Per Rick Simpson's website, Phoenix Tears, the term Rick Simpson oil, or RSO, refers to extremely potent decarboxylated extracts produced from strong sedative indica strains, which have been said to have THC levels in like the 90% range. It also states, this harmless, non-addictive natural medication. Little side note, THC is addictive. Anything that messes with the dopamine or reward pathways is addictive. Can be used with great success to cure or control cancer, MS, pain, diabetes, arthritis, and the list goes on, and just about any other medical issue that one can imagine. To be clear, that is what he says, that is not what I'm saying. And there's a lot to unpack here, so let's back up a second. Who is Rick Simpson and how did this all start? Before any of this started, I'm pretty sure Rick Simpson was a normal guy. He was a maintenance engineer living in Canada just minding his own business. And I believe at this point, he had never used cannabis. But it was one day in the late 1990s where everything changed. He suffered a pretty severe head injury at work, apparently after falling off a ladder at one of the sites he was working at. After struggling with symptoms of post-concussion syndrome.
My head rings 24 hours a day. I mean, I went through the medical system. I took their pills for 5 years. I took every chemical they threw at me, but they did nothing but make me worse.
And finding little relief from prescribed medications, he turned to cannabis. He was reluctant at first, but eventually he eased up to the idea. This idea popped up after he saw a documentary called Reefer Madness.
About a year after I was injured, I seen an episode of The Nature of Things with Dr. David Suzuki called Reefer Madness 2.
Where he saw people using cannabis for their problems and they were being helped.
And it showed all these people on there smoking pot for their medical problems, and they were being helped.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
I was quite desperate, so I went out and I got some pot from friends nearby. And I smoked it, and it did more for me than anything the doctors were giving me.
He asked his doc for a script and was denied.
I went back to the doctors. Every doctor I seen, I asked them for prescriptions for hemp, but not one doctor would give me a prescription.
So eventually your boy Rick was tired of hearing no as an answer to something that was helping him out clearly. He decided to take things into his own hands and made the oil at home on his own.
In McCann, Nova Scotia, this oil is gaining a reputation as a miracle drug.
At first, he was just making it for himself and his neighbors. But once the internet was introduced to Rick Simpson, that was it.
In a small Nova Scotia town, one man is trying to get the word out about what he says are the healing properties of hemp oil, marijuana.
He and his methods spread quickly online. Eventually, he started distributing it to thousands for free. He never once patented his oil or sought profit for it, because it was nature. And so many patients began using it for all sorts of conditions, from insomnia to chronic pain to symptoms related to all sorts of cancers.
The reason I'm treating it with hemp oil is because I looked at a video called Run From the Cure by Rick Simpson.
MS, Parkinson's.
He used just a single drop. His hands afterwards were rock steady.
Epilepsy, the list goes on. It's been said that Rick Simpson even cured his mom's psoriasis with the oil. And there's a story about Rick Simpson in the early 2000s developing skin cancer in like 3 areas, one of them being his eye. He got biopsies, he got them removed. The one near his eye developed complications or an infection. He put the oil onto the Band-Aid, and according to his account, the lesions disappeared within days. And so he didn't necessarily cure the cancer with his oil. However, he did happen to resolve the post-complications with it. I just wanted to clear that up. So I don't know. But I do know this, RSO really does seem to be helping a lot of people for all types of ailments.
Dozens of major studies have been published in the last few years that indicate that the chemicals in cannabis in the lab and in animals, have a significant effect on fighting almost all major cancers, including brain, breast, prostate, lung, thyroid, colon, skin, pituitary, melanoma, and leukemia cancers.
So why was Rick Simpson seen as so radical at the time? Well, during most of this time, or at least in the early 2000s and late 90s, cannabis was still illegal in Canada. And despite this, he continued to produce the oil because he truly felt that he was helping people. Don't forget, throughout this whole journey, he never once sought profit. And a little side note, the older I get, the more I feel this guy. This led to him getting arrested.
A Nova Scotia man who some believe has the cure for cancer is now facing drug charges.
They charged me with cultivation, possession, and trafficking.
His property getting raided at least 3 times.
The RCMP confiscated 1,600 marijuana plants from his backyard.
And this was when cannabis advocate turned to cannabis activist. If you're interested in learning more about Rick Simpson and his journey, please take a look at his YouTube channel and his official website. Both will be on the screen and in the description below. So what is RSO? We know it's a highly potent extract of THC made popular by Rick Simpson, but what is it? Well, it's basically a full plant cannabis extract that was extracted with the use of a solvent. RSO is essentially a crude oil. Historically, RSO has been the least filtered and the least purified. And so, unlike other refined cannabis oils, RSO retains much of that starting plant material. A more technical name for RSO would be full extract cannabis oil, or FECO. In fact, RSO and FECO are often used interchangeably, and that's because they're often produced using the same extraction methods. There's a small distinction. FECO, or full extract cannabis oil, can encompass a wide variety of extraction processes, not just the ethanol, but it can also be like a hydrocarbon extraction and some others, but it's not in the scope of this video. While it does seem like ethanol needs to be the solvent for it to be called RSO. And then the other distinction I would make is the temperature at which the solvent is removed. As we can see, RSO, they use higher temperatures. To put simply, all RSO is FECO, but not all FECO is RSO. In terms of the solvent, historically, we know that Rick Simpson was growing his own plants on his own property, and he was making the oil with the help of his rice cooker and some other materials that are found at home. He had experimented with a couple solvents like naphtha, isopropyl alcohol. I'm sure he's most famous for using naphtha as the solvent.
I generally use pure naphtha, but 99% isopropyl alcohol also works well as a solvent, as do many other substances.
The RSO oils and the FECO oils found in the dispensaries today are more than likely extracted using food-grade ethanol or something similar to that. But his idea was still sound in theory. He was using a solvent to strip and collect all the medicinal components from the raw cannabis plant. The cannabinoids, the terpenes, the flavonoids, the esters, all that stuff, but also it contains the other plant material like the lipids and the waxes. Then he attempted to boil off or evaporate the solvent before consuming or giving it away. A couple things to note about RSO. RSO is super dark in color. It's super thick and tarry in consistency. And it's super pungent and smelly. And again, this is because RSO is essentially a crude oil. It contains a lot of that starting plant material. Another unique feature of RSO, and another reason for the dark color, is that RSO is already activated, or it's supposed to be activated. What does activated mean? It means that THCA was converted to THC via oxidation or heat or light or something within this process of making RSO. Usually it's when they're trying to evaporate or boil off the solvent. Like I touched on earlier, he has that website Phoenix Tears, and he gives all the information on how to make RSO at home, or at least how he did it, so go take a look if you'd like. And while Rick Simpson no longer produces the oil himself, it does remain a crucial ingredient in all the dispensaries today.
There are 3 different ways to use the oil as a medication. You can ingest it, you can vaporize it, or you can use it topically.
There's a ton of ways to use RSO. Now, I would agree that RSO can be taken orally or sublingually. It can be taken straight up.
And the best way to take it is put it under your tongue and rub it in your cheek.
You could just eat it, you could use it for edible.
On or with food, you could put it in capsules. It can be applied topically. And ladies, for the menstrual cramps,
you can even apply it to your belly button if you have some cramps, and your body will absorb the RSO and kind of ease up on the pain that you're feeling around the cramping season.
And RSO can even be mixed and made into a suppository.
When you do suppositories, you don't get the head high. You get a little butt high. But it's
is
good, because you can still think.
However, it's important to know that RSO in its classic or historic form should not be vaporized or dabbed or inhaled, especially if you're making it at home. And there's a number of reasons for this. 1, flammable solvents are used during the extraction process, and if you don't fully extract them, they're flammable, and that's risky. And the other thing is, don't forget, RSO oil in its true form should be activated already. It was already decarboxylated during the extraction process, so you don't really need to do it again. I guess if you're buying RSO from the dispensaries, you could technically dab it. There is plant material in it still, but you have to look at the COA, make sure there's no residual solvent, and look at the RSO product. Make sure there's no labels that say do not inhale it. Otherwise, you might be all right. This is not medical advice. So ultimately, it's really up to you, your diagnosis, and your preferences on how you choose to use RSO. RSO is usually packaged in a syringe to allow or attempt to allow for precise dosing. Don't worry, there's no needles, just a syringe. But because it's so thick and tarry in consistency, it's not that user-friendly. Sometimes it takes a good amount of elbow grease to push that out. So if that's the case, you might need to warm it up with your hands, heat it under hot water, blow dryer, whatever you gotta do, warm it up a little bit, it'll be much easier. But the good thing is, the dispensaries in Florida have a couple ways to counter this. Speaking of which, let's back up. Which Florida dispensaries carry RSO? Actually, all of them. I was pretty surprised. Most of them come in RSO, whereas others are disguised as RSO but are FECO. It is disclosed, it's not disguised. It's usually always found in 1 gram syringes, and the skinnier the syringe, the easier it is that you'll find that it is to push out. In addition, places like Move and Jungle Boys have something like a dablicator, or a little device where you twist the end of it and then it gives you a fixed dose every time. This certainly avoids the math, it doesn't really have to make you think, and is easy on the hands.
If you squeeze too much out, just pull back on the plunger and that will make the oil go back into the syringe.
If you have never used RSO before, and even if you have, you need to listen to me when I tell you that RSO is some potent stuff, and you need to start super low and go super slow when first starting out. Because it's so potent, it's really easy to overdo it. Oftentimes you'll hear the people at the dispensary or even online say start with a size of a grain of rice or something smaller. Depending on how much total THC is in that syringe, you can do the math and figure out, but I would say don't do more than 5 milligrams your first time. Just really feel it out. Speaking of which, do you have any experience with RSO? If so, how did you take it? How did you feel? Please let me know in the comments below. Sedation and euphoria seem to be 2 of the most prominent medical effects patients report when using RSO, followed by improvements in pain, but like I just said, it doesn't come without side effects. And these side effects are the same ones that you would encounter if you got too high the first time or with THC intoxication. Drowsiness, anxiety, cognitive impairment, memory loss, maybe even paranoia, psychosis, dizziness, nausea, tachycardia or increased heart rate, low blood pressure, hypotension, but no death. And there are other versions of RSO like oils with CBD, CBG, CBC, etc. Although I guess those really wouldn't be RSO, they'd be like FECO. And with those, you really don't have to worry about any of those side effects that you get with THC. And again, these are easy to avoid. If you start low, go slow, and just gradually increase. Maybe one possible way to avoid all the negative or unwanted side effects would be to take RSO at nighttime or before bed. That way, if you do happen to experience any side effects, you're gonna be sleeping through it. And a lot of patients report sleeping like a rock when they're taking RSO.
Rest and sleep are part of the healing process.
If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. And more likely than not, a lot of patients with incurable conditions, cancers, pains, all these things, they're not sleeping well. Once you can sleep well, you feel better the next day, and then it kind of snowballs. And I consider an improvement in quality of life a win. And while maybe not a definite cure, RSO is certainly valued for its potency and its versatility. Today, RSO lives on in the dispensaries, patient support groups, and in ongoing medical research. Whether you see it as a grassroots remedy or the foundation of future therapies, one thing is certain. Rick Simpson helped plant a seed that's still growing. I'm saying. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry if it was a little longer than expected. I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're feeling the vibes. Until the next time.